I just wanted to share my thoughts on the various pro leagues for Ultimate that have been coming out. So last year it started with the AUDL, and then just a little while ago, about a month ago, the MLU was announced, Major League Ultimate, and USA Ultimate also talked about the Triple Crown. So it's not really a pro league, but it's more of a professional league in the sense of how it's being marketed and how it's being organized. It's taking a lot of time. It's taking a lot of money. And Nexgen recently announced that they're coming out with a pro league as well. So I just kind of wanted to talk about the three, I guess, pro leagues where the players actually get paid, and then the one league, the one series, I guess, that the USA Ultimate is doing with the Triple Crown. So for me, I actually think it's not good that there's that many. I think that, approaching a pro league in a sport like Ultimate, where Ultimate is still somewhat a fringe sport, there's hundreds of thousands of people that do know about it, but it still doesn't have the penetration in cities that soccer does, for example. So in Calgary, we have 1,500 Ultimate players, and we have 50,000 soccer players. Part of that stems from there being such a large youth program, all the way up to Premier Leagues, adults, things like that. So for me, the ideal approach for Ultimate, just coming at it, looking at the other pro sports and how they have it set up, is to go to centers where there's a large youth population in that sport. So for me, looking at it that way, Seattle would be fantastic for a pro Ultimate team. Where else would have? Boston probably has a good program. Toronto, Vancouver, places like that would be great for Ultimate teams to start. So for me, the AUDL failed right away because they went to centers that didn't necessarily have sorry, there was just an update on my computer. I'm using Windows. I'm sure a lot of you are using Macs. I use Mac at work. So anyway, that was my Windows update. So to me, the AUDL failed from the very beginning because they went into centers that didn't really have, an already established Ultimate team. So they weren't going after Seattle and Vancouver and San Francisco and Portland and Austin and those places. And so to me, like I said, I think they sort of failed from the beginning. MLU, I think, is taking a better approach, where they're going into centers that are somewhat more established, but I think they could still do even better. And what I think has done better is Nexgen's proposal. However, I don't think Nexgen's proposal is great as well, because they're looking at more so the weekend tournament circuit. So to me, you have to look at it that what are people used to? They're used to pro baseball, pro football, pro hockey, pro basketball. One game, you have an entire season, so they play 82 games in hockey, 161 games, 162 games in baseball. And then at the end they have playoffs, and then there's a winner. So it's easy for people to follow. It's easy for people to follow stats. But if you start doing a tournament circuit, then it's much harder for them to follow. Tennis does that. That's the nature of tennis, right? If you only had one tennis match a week, it doesn't really work so well, because just the nature of traveling, and because you have bracket formats and everything like that, you have to have a tournament. Whereas with Ultimate, you could have one game, and the AUDL has showed us that you can just do one game successfully. So they've already set the precedent for that model, that it works. That you can have one game, you can attract people, you can promote it, it gets on ESPN Sports Center, which is fantastic. So to me, ideally we have one league, and it utilizes the smartest people, the most passionate people in North America who are into Ultimate. Because if you have the AUDL, the MLU, Nexgen, USA Ultimate, sort of working independently of each other, and it does sound like Nexgen is going to be working with USA Ultimate, but even still, if you have three essentially organizations working separately, you're diluting it, and you have essentially, say for example, you have $500,000 in each league. You could put that together and have 1.5 million. So for me, it's not really, it's not really a good approach. I'm skeptical of it working in its current format, and I feel like we're going to have more issues. Something I was reading today actually is Philadelphia has two pro teams. They have one team in MLU, and they have one team in the AUDL. So I like the approach they're taking. I like that we're starting to do Pro Ultimate. But if you look at lacrosse, if you look at soccer, they don't have 3 leagues competing against each other. They have 1. And I think we really need to have 1 and just put our best product out there. To me, the best product is Nexgen. If you look at the quality of the Nexgen Ultimate Tour with the college kids, that was fantastic. So take Nexgen's quality of broadcasting, take MLU or AUDL's precedent of, like a season, like a regular season, just like the other sports, and then having playoffs. And then possibly MLU's approach where they're going into already established centers like Seattle, Vancouver, Toronto, places like that. I think if you combine them, you'll have a fantastic system, an amazing league. So people really have to check their egos. I mean, yes, it's not necessarily all ultimate players that are doing this. There are definitely some ultimate players involved with the core. I understand there's business people who are doing this thinking, there's profit to be made in it, but ultimately it's about our game and how do we put the best product out there. And for me, the best product is working together and supporting each other and lifting each other up instead of working independently, diluting it, and sort of pushing each other away and having, rifts that happened last year. So would love to hear your comments on what you think about that. I'm sure there's going to be more articles coming out. There is a great article in Ultiworld about just kind of explaining each league and sort of the differences between each one. So I'll post that link in the description below, but would love to hear your comments.